Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we are talking about your December horoscopes. Of course, that is why you are here. Before we start talking astrology, I have a few things that I would like to mention. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, therefore all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. I use the whole sign house system in case you are curious, in case you are wondering. And if you want to work with me, if you want to book a reading, you can find me on my website, which is written in the stars, in one word, -astrology.com. That is written in the stars, -astrology.com. In the services section, you're going to find the various types of readings that I offer. You can choose between audio recorded only or live Zoom consultations. For the audio recorded readings, the current waiting time, if I'm not mistaken, is around 8-ish weeks. It is a lot less for live Zoom consultations. It's about 4 to 5 weeks off the top of my head. Have a read through and see what is there for you. December, folks, is packed with exciting events. Exciting, that's how I want to call them. I am pretty excited because it is mostly Sagittarius season and we all needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. So it is a time to make merry, but we are obviously still in eclipse season. We have a solar eclipse happening on the 4th of December in Sagittarius. Solar eclipses usually bring in big new beginnings, and because we're talking about Sagittarius, it's probably going to be something connected with traveling. It is probably something going to be connected with the legal system, the judicial system. That's what I'm thinking. We might also have formalized religion, kind of like in the spotlight around the time of the eclipse. So I'm very curious what this will look like. Let me walk you through the most important astrological events of December. Everyone is literally raving, or maybe raving is not the best word, talking about Venus going retrograde. And indeed, it is very exciting, let's say. We're going to go into details as to what this could mean for your own zodiac sign. But essentially, Venus is going to go retrograde from the 19th of December until the 29th of January next year. It's going retrograde in Capricorn, sign of business, institutions, tradition, structure, ambition, money, status. Certainly, I do see some sort of maybe contraction at a financial level. If we look at the economy with Venus retrograde, that's personally my take on this. Overall, collectively, I know a lot of you also follow stocks and the stock market and so on. You've got investments, so there will probably be some sort of contraction when Venus is retrograde. Pay attention to that. Venus retrograde generally brings with it some sort of reevaluation of values of what we consider to be important. We might also reevaluate our partnerships, especially business partnerships with Venus in Capricorn, but not only business partnerships. Of course, Venus is the general significator for love. So that's happening. I say don't make any sort of major relationship commitments or any sort of major commitments from an aesthetics perspective, from a style perspective during Venus retrograde. So don't go get a haircut, don't change your hair color, don't buy a lot of clothes when Venus is retrograde, because once Venus goes out of retrograde, you might realize, I don't really like these, so why did I get them? exercise a little bit of caution there. What else is going on? So let me take the planets one by one. So on the 12th of December, we have a Sun-Neptune square exact. On the 20th of December, we have a Sun sextile Jupiter exact, which I'm really looking forward to. And on the 21st of December, the Sun moves into Capricorn. On the 4th of December, we have a new moon in the sky, a solar eclipse at 12 degrees, 21 minutes of Sagittarius. On the 19th of December, we have a full moon in Gemini at 27 degrees, 28 minutes of Gemini. What else is going on? Let's see what Mercury is doing this month. On the 13th of December, Mercury moves into Capricorn because it was in Sagittarius up until that point. On the 7th of December, we have a Mercury-Neptune square in the sky. Oh my gosh, so much confusion here. I gotta tell you, like, there could be maybe reports of, I don't know, like errors or mistakes in data in the news. There can be maybe lies that make the news, or kind of like deceit that comes to our attention. And very careful when it comes to liars, because this is an aspect of deceit. I'm thinking maybe we're going to read about scams in the news around this time. On the 11th of December, we have a sextile between Mercury and Jupiter. I like this, a really good day, very positive news. 20th of December, Mercury is trining Uranus. And let's see what else is kind of like interesting about Mercury. Well, on the 26th of December, Mercury is sextiling Neptune. So very kind of like positive healing energy. Even at a mental level, it is very soothing. We talked about Venus. Venus is retrograde between the 19th of December and the 29th of January next month. On the 11th and on the 25th, these are the days to really keep in mind. Venus is going to be exactly conjunct Pluto. So something's kind of like coming to the surface, maybe some sort of secret, maybe something from the past is coming to the surface connected with partnerships and relationships. What is Mars doing this month? On the 6th of December, Mars is sextiling Pluto. This is really a good day to do a lot of intense work, even physical work on your own. We have a Mars square Jupiter aspect on the 8th of December, and on the 13th of December, Mars enters Sagittarius. Big news, of course. You know me, I'm saving the best for last. I will probably do a separate video about this in 2022, by the way. On the 29th of December, Jupiter moves into Pisces in its own sign. Woohoo! So everyone is excited about this. And what else is happening? I obviously cannot forget. We have the third and final exact square this year between Saturn and Uranus on the 24th of December. Also pay attention to the 25th. We had an exact square between these planets. Also, well, I've written down here, between the 16th and the 18th of February earlier this year. We could feel it. And also between the 13th and the 14th of June. So have a think about what you were doing around these times. It's an interesting month. A lot of energy is kind of like shifting gears. We're about to experience a change in direction, which is obviously symbolic because it's the last month of the year. So let's get into the updates for each zodiac sign. Remember, folks, first and foremost, listen to your rising sign. If you know your rising sign, if you know your ascendant, then you don't need to listen to anything else. If you want to listen to your sun sign, that's also good, but I strongly recommend listening to your rising sign first and foremost, because the rising sign is how you entered the world, and you will probably find that timings-wise, you resonate with the forecast for your rising sign more than anything else. I know some people listen to their moon sign. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because the moon is concerned with internal life, not so much with external events. Certainly it's very good, and I strongly recommend it, to keep track of planets or kind of like important transits that go over your natal moon or that contact your natal moon by especially tense aspects. But I wouldn't necessarily listen to this forecast, which is a general forecast for your moon sign. I would listen to your rising sign. So enough with the explanations, my dear Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings. Okay, you're going to love most of this month. I'll just put it out there. Just laying it out there for you. Why? Because for most of the month, there's a lot of energy concentrated in signs that are forming harmonious aspects with Aries overall as a sign. So we're talking about the energy of Sagittarius, obviously a fire sign like yours. We're talking about the energy of Aquarius. Aquarius is a sign that sextiles Aries. So I'm liking this month for you. On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, we have a new moon solar eclipse in your 9th house in Sagittarius. It is sextiling Saturn in Aquarius in your 11th house. This is a big new beginning, a massive, dramatic new beginning for you, my lovely Aries, when it comes to one of the following. So you seem to be fulfilling a long-term goal around this time, or taking a massive step in the direction of fulfilling a long-term goal. When it comes to higher education, so you could be maybe accepted to some sort of like studies program and so on. You could also receive very positive news connected with residency, visas, moving abroad, very also positive news connected with traveling, if this is something that you have been waiting for. I will say there's probably someone maybe older or someone with a lot of authority, maybe a friend helping you enter this new and exciting chapter of your life. I also see you having kind of like an epiphany in terms of your belief system around this time. So you might see the world differently. Your mindset is changing. It's evolving. It's becoming more positive, even more positive than it has been up until this point. You might also welcome into your life around the eclipse some sort of teacher or mentor. One thing to be aware of at this time, Mars in Scorpio in your 8th house is squaring Jupiter in Aquarius in the 11th house. Obviously, Jupiter is the ruler of the eclipse, of the new moon. Be careful not to overextend yourself financially, or to not assume something that is actually not true when it comes to the financial agreement that you're entering into. So, for instance, if you're being accepted into kind of like a studies program, really make sure that you've read the fine print about how you need to pay back a loan, maybe like a university loan. Now, on the 7th of December, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 9th house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house. Again, this sort of like topic that came to your attention at the time of the eclipse requires maybe a little bit more attention when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to documents that maybe you need to kind of like hand in. There seems to be a little bit of maybe confusion as to what sort of documents you're expected to hand in. Also, if you're traveling around this time, there's probably going to be delays, or there will be this sort of like feeling of maybe disappointment of something that you did not take into account. Let's see, what else is happening? On the 11th of December, this is when even more interesting stuff kicks off. On the 11th of December, we have the first of the two conjunctions between Venus and Pluto in your 10th house of career. So on the 11th of December, we've got this conjunction in your 10th house, and at the same time, we have Mercury in Sagittarius in the 9th house, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 11th house. Let's see. So for you, my dear Aries, Venus rules your 2nd house and your 10th house. I have to say, someone very powerful, very influential from work might have your back with some sort of long-term goal and plan around this time, my dear Aries. What's also possible is maybe that there are some sort of like changes happening at a leadership level in your in your work, in your profession, and you're benefiting from it. It's almost like you're being given some sort of opportunity, because the 10th house is also what we call a very public house. Aries everywhere might have some sort of announcement to make to the world about, well, a variety of things, about their relationship sector, about their financial sector. It looks like there's some sort of like change in status that maybe you need to make the world aware of, and also possibly change in status concerning your relationship sector. Now, on the 12th of December, we have your Sun in Sagittarius in the 9th house, squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house. I'm not really a big fan of this. Why? Well, because it looks like something that you had planned together with maybe a group of people, something very fun, is resulting in, I don't want to call it a disappointment, but there is almost like a tendency to overdo it. And careful that there could be a tendency to overdo it maybe at a social event. Neptune is also connected with drugs, with addiction. So I'm thinking maybe it's going to be an excessively boozy night out that you might regret the next day. So careful there. From the 13th of December, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius in your 9th. My apologies. We have Mercury entering Capricorn in your 10th house and Mars entering Sagittarius in your 9th house. So Mercury in the 10th house, Mars in the 9th house. Mars energizes everything that it touches. So Mars is certainly going to energize your higher education and kind of like traveling sector until, let's see, until the 25th of January next year. Mars is also the ruler of your physical body and of new beginnings. So it looks like there's a lot of energy that you put into this part of your chart, especially connected with some sort of new, some sort of novel initiative. It could also be a time when you maybe run some sort of like marketing campaigns or a campaign of self-promotion, of promoting your services. On the 18th, 19th of December, so I've put both days because it depends where you are in the world, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. We have a full moon in Gemini in your 3rd house, triggering also the 9th house, and it is forming a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in the 11th house of long-term goals, plans, and dreams. I love this. I love this. It's like you're completing a cycle of learning. You're completing some sort of project that maybe involved traveling, maybe involved meeting a lot of people, maybe it involved kind of like disseminating ideas to the masses. Maybe you're getting, I don't know, maybe you're getting your passport now, or your kind of like residency around this time. Maybe you are getting your driver's license. It does seem to be a time when you fulfill some sort of long-term objective connected either with education or with movement. From the 19th of December until the 29th of January, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn in your 10th house. So this could be a time when you might be reevaluating a business partnership. I would recommend, if you can, not signing some sort of agreement to collaborate with someone career-wise. Or you could have someone reach out to you from your past asking you to work with them. And you're kind of like doubting where you are just now, career-wise and partnership-wise. You might also be having some doubts about whether it is the right time or not to maybe make your relationship status public. What I can tell you is things might not be exactly what they seem, and if you can, hold off on commitment until after the 29th of January, I would say after the 30th of January next year, that would be fantastic. You might be reevaluating also what you value at work and in your career in general. And that's a good thing because retrogrades are always used best for a reevaluation. Now, on the 20th of December, we have a fantastic aspect. Sun in Sagittarius, sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 11th house. Great day to catch up with friends, to meet with friends, to have fun. On the 21st of December, the Sun moves into Capricorn in your 10th house, illuminating this part of your chart for the next 4 weeks. On the 24th of December, we have an exact square between Saturn in the 11th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 2nd house. You have experienced this twice already this year, so you could look back at these dates between the 16th and the 18th of February and between the 13th and the 14th of June this year. Look back and see how you had to maybe adjust one of your long-term plans as a result of maybe encountering some difficulties on a financial level. Also, maybe this is a time when you need to pay for something that you have committed to in terms of long-term goals, plans, and dreams. It is also a time when you might decide to leave, to exit some sort of tribe or a group of people that you used to feel like you belonged to, but you might no longer feel that. It's like from a value perspective, you are no longer aligned with these folks. On the 25th of December, Venus in Capricorn in your 10th house is conjunct Pluto again. So look back at what came to your attention on the 11th of December, career-wise and in terms of partnerships and in terms of your public relationship status. And from the 28th, 29th of December, depending where you're at in the world, 29th of December at 4:10, 10 minutes past 4 in the morning, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. My apologies. Jupiter moves from Aquarius into Pisces. I'm like, Jupiter in Aquarius. It was great to have Jupiter in my sign this year. It has actually been, but for you, my dear Aries, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 12th house, and it's going to spend most of 2022 there. Essentially offering you the opportunity to explore more your blind spots, to look inwards a lot more, to do some more kind of like introspection, maybe opening up your mind towards new spiritual practices. I'm liking this, and also Jupiter expands everything it touches, so it might expand the amount of time that you dedicate to studying your shadow, understanding your blind spots, and also to kind of like private life and rest and retreat from the outside world. And that is Aries. My dear Taurus, Taurus suns, and Taurus risings. This month, for you, is going to revolve a lot around the topic of shared resources and other people's money and other people's resources. So let's dig into December of 2021. On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, you have a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 8th house of other people's money, other people's resources, intimacy also. And this is sextiling Saturn in Aquarius in your 10th house. I like this. It's almost like you reach some sort of agreement when it comes to maybe sharing resources with an institutional player. So I'm thinking you might get a mortgage around this time, or you might get approved on a loan, or this could be a time maybe when you agree with your boss on some sort of new bonus system. I strongly recommend digging deep into any sort of contracts that you sign, because at this time, Mars in Scorpio in your 7th house of partnerships is squaring Jupiter in Aquarius in the 10th house. So you might be super excited about this agreement, and maybe there is something quite stealthy, because Mars rules your 12th house of secrets, that you are missing. So if it sounds very good, I'm not saying that it's too good to be true, but what I am saying is that everyone could feel very like positive and optimistic and so excited that this is happening. And they could, well, you personally could maybe miss an essential part of the agreement I'm thinking. This can also be a time when you maybe have some sort of aha moment, some sort of epiphany about one of your maybe psychological blockages or issues that you dealt with on a mental level. It can also feel like a time when you overcome a crisis in your career, or when you find some sort of new setup that works a lot better for you career-wise, and that prevents you from going through a type of crisis that you have gone through in the past. Also, your partner around this time might receive some sort of, if you are in a relationship, might receive some very positive news connected with their financial life. And because it's your partner that we're talking about, this seems to have a positive impact upon both of your lives from a financial standpoint. Now, on the 7th of December, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 8th house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 11th house. This can be a day of feeling a little bit disappointed with a friend. Maybe you hear that they say something that is hurtful, that makes you feel a little bit betrayed. It can also be a day of misunderstandings with friends or with wider groups of people. On the 11th of December, we have the first of the two conjunctions between Venus and Pluto. Venus is going to conjunct Pluto on the 11th in your 9th house. On the same day, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 8th house is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in the 10th house. Something is changing. You're maybe changing your legal status at this time. I'm thinking maybe you're transforming, because Pluto has a very transformative kind of impact. You are transforming your status in the eyes of the law. That's possible. Maybe you are finding out what was holding you back from completing something of a legal nature. You could also decide to maybe take to court an issue connected with your relationship sector. You might decide to be kind of like very direct and straightforward and candid about it. You could have a surprise summoning to court as well. It's a very interesting day and date. You could also feel like you're really seeing one of your blockages. You're becoming aware of one of your blockages when it came to relationships at a mental level. It's like you have an epiphany at a mental level about how you may be connected with partners, my dear Taurus. On the 13th of December, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your 8th house, and it's going to energize this sector of your life until the 25th of January next year, if I am not mistaken. I'm not mistaken, I have just checked. So it does look like you're probably going to put a lot of energy, a lot of stamina into maybe paying your taxes, paying your debts. Also, it could feel like you need to defend your own interests when it comes to some sort of joint resources matter. You could have a little bit of a conflict that you need to deal with, or a disagreement when it comes to joint resources with a partner or with an institution, I will have to say. On the 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, because it depends where you're at in the world, we have a full moon in Gemini in your second house, triggering also your 8th house of shared resources, in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 10th house of career. I see you getting paid a big fat bonus here, or maybe, I don't know, it's kind of like the last salary of the year, but I see it being substantial. So I actually see a lot of money making its way to you around this time. You are completing some sort of financial cycle in your life. It could also be a time when you score a raise, because I see you being super nicely aspected in a career environment as well. If you do want to get a raise, I say pitch it to a boss in the run up to the full moon, or actually even around the full moon, around the 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. I would recommend the 3 days before if possible. 19th of December, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn in your 9th house until the 29th of January. So you're probably going to deal with some sort of legal issue, legal matter that also involves a partner, and that also maybe involves your workplace. You could be dealing with this until January of next year, until the 29th of January. It's an old issue. It's something that you're aware of. It's something that you knew you had to take care of, but maybe you postponed it. So now it feels like, okay, I need to really pick this up. You could also be changing or reevaluating some of your beliefs and some of your perspectives when it comes to your day-to-day work. So you might decide, actually, you know what, I've been doing work this way up until this point because this is what I believe about work, and now I realize it is not serving me. You could also travel with a business partner for work to a place that you have been to before when Venus is retrograde in Capricorn in your 9th house. Your philosophy about love is changing also, my dear Taurus. That's how I see it. You're kind of like revising it. On the 20th of December, we have a beautiful Sun Sagittarius sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 10th house. Once again, good news of a financial nature coming from work, from a boss. On the 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn in your 9th house, illuminating also this sector of your chart until, well, for the next four weeks, well into January. And on the 24th of December, we have the third Saturn-Uranus square. Saturn in your 10th house of career, Uranus and Taurus in the first house. This also happened this year between the 16th and the 18th of February 2021 and between the 13th, 14th of June 2021. It looks like you are liberating yourself, you're freeing yourself of maybe a constraining kind of a set of circumstances, or you might be freeing yourself of some responsibilities at work in a career environment, or you could be feeling very much pressured to conform to a longer list of responsibilities in a career environment. It's like you're feeling the pressure maybe of a promotion or something like that. And from the 28th, 29th of December, depending where you're at across the globe, or maybe here in Europe, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 11th house of long-term goals, plans for the future, and friends for most of 2022. Essentially, it is expanding your opportunities to increase your tribe, to meet like-minded individuals. It is giving you a lot of positivity and optimism to chase after your dreams and your long-term plans for the future. And that is Taurus. Now, Gemini suns and Gemini risings. You're in the spotlight a lot in December, but I would say mostly because of your relationships. Mostly because of what's happening in your relationship sector. So what is going on? On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 7th house of partnerships and committed relationships, sextiling Saturn in Aquarius in the 9th house of legal matters. Okay, some Geminis are going to get engaged. I know it. I can sense it. Some Geminis are going to meet, I want to say, a potential long-term committed partner. So it may feel like you have connected with a soulmate. And let's get this clear. I believe that we have multiple soulmates in this lifetime. And I do believe that goes beyond romance. You are likely to feel kind of like starstruck a little bit. Some Geminis might legalize a relationship, a partnership. It looks like you're entering into a new chapter altogether, relationship-wise. A chapter where you're more mature, you know what you want, you're ready for commitment. You also know what you want to focus the relationship on. I am loving this for you. Now, what else is going on in December for you Geminis? I strongly recommend around the 7th of December with Mercury in the 7th house squaring Neptune and Pisces in your 10th house of career. I strongly recommend triple, quadruple checking any messages that you send at work, any documents that you sign, any sort of like paperwork that you read through, because you might miss very important details. Or you might realize that something is very kind of like foggy and blurry and unclear. On the 11th of December, we have Venus in Capricorn in your 8th house, conjunct Pluto. This is interesting because it seems like you are having maybe some sort of epiphany connected with your, I want to say with your kind of like intimate sector. This can also be a time when you have some sort of epiphany about how you share resources with partners in general, and you might decide to kind of like do things differently in the future, my dear Geminis. On the 13th of December, until the 25th of January, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your 7th house. It may feel like you're kind of like allowing your partner to take the lead in a way to kind of like set the tone as to where you're headed and moving forward. It may also feel like a time of increased competition in your life, my dear Geminis. It's like everyone wants to, I don't want to say everyone wants to fight you, but they want to have battles with you. That's kind of like how I see it. Now, let's see what else is going on for you. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini in your 1st house in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in the 9th house. This is a time when you complete a cycle of self-development. It's like you feel like you've grown. You feel like you have developed yourself. It could be that this is a time when you kind of like complete some sort of like legal matter, or kind of like legal issue connected with a partner, connected with a relationship. This can also be a time when you travel together with a partner, or when you make plans to travel with a partner. You certainly seem to feel a lot wiser about relationships at this point in time, and you seem to be proud of how far you've come when it comes to the types of partnerships that you're going into, and how you approach relationships, and so on. Now, from the 19th of December until the 29th of January, Venus is going retrograde. It's going retrograde in Capricorn in your 8th house of shared resources. You may have thought that you had paid all your debts, that you had wrapped up any sort of outstanding matters connected with shared resources, but I gotta tell you, you are probably not done yet. You might have some debts to pay. If you have like an ex-partner, maybe they're coming to collect some of their, resources, some of their money. Maybe they're asking you for money. Essentially, it's almost like an old partner is coming to collect something that they think you owe them. I'm not saying that you actually owe them, but they certainly seem to think that. You might also find yourself in a very kind of like intense and passionate affair with an ex, especially since Venus also rules your 5th house of romantic love. I say very careful about committing when Venus is retrograde, because we might see things that aren't actually there, and we might change our mind, especially about romance, after Venus goes out of retrograde. So from the 29th of January onwards. Careful. Don't say I didn't warn you. On the 20th of December, we have one of the best days of the month. The Sun in Sagittarius in your 7th house is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in the 9th house. It's a great, great, great day to go out with partners, to go out into the world, to connect with other people, to have fun, to kind of like get involved in social activities. You are probably going to feel very popular. You are probably going to feel very welcome out into the world. You're probably going to meet some very interesting characters. I say go for it. From the 21st of December, for the next 4 weeks, the Sun also moves into Capricorn in your 8th house of shared resources and intimacy. I am telling you, this is this is getting very serious. You need to deal with something that you thought you had dealt with. You might also need to pay some more taxes, just to put it out there. And you need to really kind of like communicate with an external party about this money related matter, because it's not going to go away. That's how I see it. 24th of December, we have the 3rd and final square of the year between Saturn and Aquarius in your 9th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house. We have had this square already twice exactly this year, between the 16th and the 18th of February 2021, and between the 13th and the 14th of June 2021 also. Look back at your life, see what you were dealing with, especially from a legal standpoint and from a travel or education standpoint. At the times that I have mentioned, it looks like you are dealing with some sort of disruption on an educational level, on a travel related kind of like level. Also, maybe you had counted on someone to support you through some sort of trial. And maybe you realize that this person is actually not going to be there, is not going to be there for you, and they don't really have your best interests at hand. I also see, I'm sorry to say it, but if you're planning to travel around the 24th of December, I see some disruption. I see some blockages, actually. And you know I don't like to be definitive about the aspects in the sky, but it may feel like this is out of your control. So a little bit of flexibility might take you a long way around this time. I'm seeing a frustrating day, essentially. And from the 28th, 29th of December, depending where you are in the world, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 10th house for most of 2022. I gotta tell you, Geminis, 2022 is probably going to be one of the best years in a long time for you career-wise. Bringing opportunities your way, bringing the possibility of expansion. You're also going to expand the way you are seen in the world, your status, your reputation, the image that the world has about you in 2022. It is a year, 2022, most of it, to take chances and risks career-wise, and to really step out of your comfort zone, to get out of a rut. So see what comes up for you, lovely Geminis. My fellow Cancerians, Cancer Suns, and Cancer Risings. This month for you is actually really busy. So your plate is going to be absolutely full. That's because we have a very, very strong activation of your 6th house of day-to-day work, but I am getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the key dates for December 2021. On the 4th of December, give or take a week before a week after, you have a new moon solar eclipse in your 6th house of day-to-day work, very nicely aspecting Saturn in Aquarius in your 8th house. Okay, I like this. Why? Because a lot of Cancerians will probably start a new job. You might receive a job offer. If you are looking for work, then I gotta tell you, my recommendation is to really keep pushing and keep hustling and keep getting yourselves kind of like out there, scheduling interviews, talking to people, because you're very likely to score a big win in this area around the 4th of December. Some of you around the 4th of December will start working in a new team. There could be maybe like a new team member that is being added to the mix. You may also start some very kind of like important project that you feel like it's almost like a personal challenge that you are actually very keen to take on. So I'm liking this. You could also be scoring some sort of client win around this time. Also, some Cancerians will start a new health regimen, and you're excited about all the various positive influences that this is likely to have also on your mental health, on your psychological well-being as well. I'm loving this. On the 7th of December, there is a square between Mercury and Sagittarius in your 6th house of day-to-day work and Neptune and Pisces in the 9th house. There could be a disagreement or a misunderstanding or some sort of confusion around legal matters at work. Also, there could be some sort of message that gets lost in translation between you and maybe an international office or kind of like a foreign team. So pay attention to that. Be careful with that because it's kind of like a very blurry day. That's how I want you to keep it in mind. On the 11th of December, we have a conjunction between Venus and Pluto in your 7th house of relationships, and Mercury in your 6th house is going to sextile Jupiter in your 8th house. Okay, so what is going on here? Well, it looks like maybe your partner, my dear Cancerians, has something to let you know about their family. Or they might divulge to you some sort of secret connected with their past, connected with their family. They could also have something to share in regards to what they plan to do career-wise. And you might feel like they've been hiding this a little bit from you. But on the other hand, I wouldn't say that it is something to get worried about. On the contrary, it does seem to be pretty exciting. Maybe your partner is kind of like changing their industry, their plans career-wise altogether, and you hear of that around this time. It's a very intense and passionate day, so it's a very kind of like steamy day. It's a great day for intense emotional bonding and connection with a partner, the 11th of December. On the 12th of December, the Sun in Sagittarius in your 6th house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 9th house. Some misunderstanding, some confusion, some fog around finances and work and paperwork. You might be asked to pay for something at work that you don't want to pay for, or that you didn't think you had to pay for. Maybe there was a payment that you missed, so also pay attention to that. And from the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars is going to be moving through Sagittarius in your 6th house, essentially energizing your work sector. Like I said, you are very busy. And you're going to be very busy pretty much until the last week of January at work. It looks like you're involved in some sort of work project that you enjoy being involved in, because Mars also rules your 5th house. It looks like you have a lot of catching up to do, maybe getting up to speed with processes at work and so on. It also looks like you're physically probably going to be very active until the 25th of January, and especially in a work environment or in a health kind of like environment, my dear Cancerians. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini, triggering your axis of service and work, 12th house, 6th house, in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in your 8th house. Okay, so this can be the date maybe when you hand in your resignation. I'm like so excited for you. Like, yes, new beginning. This could be the day when you hear that you actually did get a job that you applied for. This could also be the day when you receive some sort of special kind of like bonus or payment for the extra work that you have been doing. It can also be a day when you feel like you overcome, a period when you feel like you overcome around the full moon, when you feel like you've overcome some sort of health-related crisis, or when all the efforts that you've been putting into getting better health-wise have been paying off, or it looks like there are results that you can show for the effort connected with improving your state of health. From the 19th of December until the 29th of January next year, in 2022, Venus is going to be retrograde in Capricorn in your 7th house. You might reevaluate a relationship at this time, a partnership, a business partnership. You might also have someone from your past coming back into your life, someone who you have a lot of, well, you had a lot of affection for, maybe even someone that you moved in with. You might also pick up together with a partner, I'm thinking, some sort of home-related project. So maybe you tried to, I don't know, renovate the house or kind of like move the furniture around a while back, and you didn't have time to complete this, and now you are picking it back up. Some of you folks, for instance, if you've been trying to have a child, you might also start that again, try to pick that up again. Very careful. I'm like, very careful to not commit to something 100%. I'm like, non-committal, especially a new partner, or let's say someone from your past that says, let's try this again, until Venus is out of retrograde. That would be my recommendation. You also seem to be reevaluating some of your, well, expectations in terms of relationships throughout this time, my dear Cancerians. Now, on the 20th of December, we have one of the best days of the year. Well, maybe it's of the month, but I like it. I like it because I love a good Jupiter aspect. The Sun in Sagittarius in your 6th house of work is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your 8th house. It looks like you are, I don't know, achieving something that you're very proud of work-wise. Maybe you're completing something together with a work partner. Maybe you had kind of like a strained relationship with them, and still you made things happen. You kind of like managed to wrap things up on a certain project that you were working on together. And then on the 21st of December, the Sun moves into Capricorn in your 7th house until pretty much the last week of January. So for the next 4 weeks, roughly. On the 24th of December, we have a square, an exact square, the 3rd square of this year between Saturn and Aquarius in your 8th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 11th house. This square was also exact on the, well, in February of 2021 between the 16th and the 18th, and also between the 13th and the 14th of June. Have a think about what sort of like blockages you dealt with when it came to joint resources, maybe when it came to loans, when it came to mortgages, when it came to paying off your debts, was there any sort of challenge that you encountered there? Because you might have to deal with it again in December, around the 24th of December, maybe even the day after. This could also be a time when you maybe decide to kind of like separate in terms of resources, your money from a partner's money. Maybe it could be a business partner. You could also kind of like break and release a contractual relationship where you had to share some sort of resources. This is also shown by the fact that Venus in your 7th house is going to be conjunct Pluto once again on the 25th of December. It could be your partner, it could be a business partner that reaches out to you and says, I no longer want to collaborate. And it could take you a little bit by surprise, because you might have made plans already to work together with this person, or you might have relied already on their investment maybe for the year ahead. And last but not least, 28th of December, 28th, 29th, depending on where you are in the world, Jupiter moves out of your 8th house into your 9th house in Pisces. For most of 2022, Jupiter is going to expand 9th house topics for you in 2022. So it is a year next year to travel extensively. And I say, especially foreign travel seems to be very nicely aspected. It is also a year to broaden your horizons, to maybe enroll upon some sort of new course, maybe go back to university, maybe sign up for some sort of new degree. It's time to look at the world in a novel way, and you do seem to find a lot of meaning next year. Also in terms of what you have experienced so far in your life, my dear Cancerians. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings, December for you is going to be a very fun month, especially the first part of December. Sagittarius season, mostly. So what is going on? On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, you have a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 5th house, harmoniously aspecting Saturn in Aquarius in your 7th house. Okay, so this eclipse on the 4th of December is likely to bring a new beginning for you, Leos, in one of these sectors, either in romance. So it could bring maybe a new romantic partner, or a new kind of like a feeling of a new and maybe stronger romantic connection between you and your existing partner. If you're not in a relationship, and if you don't want to be, then this can be a time when you start some sort of exciting project of a creative nature, and you seem to be collaborating with someone else, especially in a professional setup. You could receive an opportunity to collaborate with someone on a creative project around this time as well. Some of you Leos might hear news of a pregnancy, because the 5th house is also the house of children, and some of you might also hear very good news coming from a child, if you have children already, possibly connected with their education. Now, on the 7th of December, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 5th house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 8th house. This can be a day when you maybe overdo it a little bit with the fun. Maybe you're having like an excessively, I don't know, boozy night in town. So there can be this energy of excess, of doing things too much, things that are supposed to be fun, but it's almost like you're feeling like you're crossing a line a little bit. On the 11th of December, Venus in Capricorn in your 6th house is conjunct Pluto. Maybe some sort of secret is coming to the surface, connected with a boss or with someone in a position of power at work, or maybe you have like the boss treating you as their confidant, confiding in you and telling you something that they want you to keep on the down low. On the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your 5th house for the, well, for quite some time, for the foreseeable. And Mars for you, Leos, rules your 9th house and your 4th house. Essentially, I see you putting a lot of energy from the 13th of December until the last week of January, putting a lot of energy into maybe having fun together with family members, or maybe traveling to see family members, to get together with family members. And it does look like it is going to be very exciting. It's all a little bit fun and games here, my dear Leos. You might also be putting a lot of your stamina, like I said, towards this creative project that I see you maybe hearing news of around the 4th of December. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini in your 11th house. It's triggering also your 5th house. You're probably, please correct me if I'm wrong, you are probably presenting to a wider audience, maybe one of your projects, and you're receiving, I have to say, fantastic feedback. You're receiving really, really good feedback. You're launching a product, possibly around this time. I see you getting together with friends. I see you maybe making an announcement concerning your relationship sector. You're making an announcement to your tribe, to your peers. I also see you at this point in time maybe making plans with friends or with a wider group of people that also involve your partner. So I'm thinking maybe you're planning a big event, or maybe an event connected with the fact that a child might come into your life or has already come into your life. That is also very, very, very possible. 19th of December, give or take, I would give it the few days before as well. We also have Mercury and Capricorn in your 6th house, trining Uranus and Taurus in the 10th house. You seem to have some very good news at the time of this full moon. Also concerned with your maybe career that you want to share with the outside world, and also maybe with your status. It feels like your status is changing, maybe from holding a specific role to being promoted. So that is also very, very possible, my dear Leos. Also, 19th of December, there's a lot happening at this time. Until the 29th of January next year, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn in your 6th house of day-to-day work. You could have someone from the past reaching out to you and asking you, don't you want to work together? It is a good time to maybe reevaluate, if you ask me, what you find important and what you find of value to you at work or in a work environment, my dear Leos. You could also, when Venus is retrograde, you could also benefit by this transit by reaching out to old associates, maybe working in tandem with old associates, or contacting them, maybe networking. There is the opportunity to maybe form or try to give another shot to some sort of old business relationship, if you ask me around this time. You might also have some doubts, I have to say, when Venus is retrograde, about what you're doing generally work-wise. So I do want to put that on your plate and flag to you. Now, let's see. On the 24th of December, we have the third and final square of the year between Saturn and Aquarius in your 7th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 10th house. Okay, so we had a square between these planets also between the 16th and the 18th of February this year, and between the 13th and the 14th of June this year. Look back at your life and have a think about what sort of challenge you dealt with in the area of relationships and your public life and public status and your career. Maybe a partner felt like you were not paying enough attention to them, or you were not allocating sufficient time to them because you were too focused on your work. Maybe a partner around these times disagreed with one of your plans for the future career-wise, and you felt blocked. You felt like your wings were clipped a little bit. You might also decide around this time to really do something that you should have done a while back, and maybe get rid of a certain collaborator at work, and actually tell them, you know what? I know we've been work colleagues for a very long time. I know we've had a successful kind of stint together, but this is it. We're not going in the same direction. Or you might be surprised that a business partner actually reaches out to you and says, nah, it's not working any longer. The important thing is to look towards the future and to not stay too attached to the past. And on the 20th of December, 28th, 29th, for most of 2022, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 8th house. Next year is a year of expansion, I would say, through other people's resources, of increasing maybe your bank account and your savings through investments, of maybe learning more about investments, learning more about how you can make money using other people's resources. Next year can also be a year in which you receive some sort of lump sum of money, maybe from your family, or from a family member, or your partner could receive that. It could also be an inheritance. I do want you to be aware of it. And that is Leo in December. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, Virgos, this month for you is going to be mostly about family and about home-related matters, I will say, at least until the 21st of December, when the sun moves into Capricorn. So, 4th of December, give or take a week before a week after, you have a new moon solar eclipse, a big new beginning, a splashy new beginning in your 4th house of home. And this is sextiling Saturn and Aquarius in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health. Okay, I'm loving this. It looks like you're maybe moving into a new home. You're welcoming possibly a child, a baby. There is news of pregnancy in your family. It doesn't necessarily have to be your baby, just FYI. It could be some... I realize that sounds wrong, but it could be a family member that announces you that they are pregnant. It feels like there's no going back to the way things were in your home and family life and residence sector, and you're okay with that. I do want to put that on your radar, my dear Virgos. You may hear some very exciting news from family members in general that also possibly kind of like prompt you to step in and say, I'll help you with this. I know this is big for you, and I will lend a hand. 7th of December, give or take a day before, a day after, but especially on the 7th, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 4th house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 7th house. There seems to be probably a misunderstanding and maybe even a feeling of disappointment in terms of how you communicate with a partner. There could be a confusion in communication with a partner, and you might also, like I said, be feeling a bit disappointed in them. But at the same time, I also see you maybe not being able to like really get upset with them, because it's like they don't know any better, or at least that's how you might feel about this. On the 11th of December, we have a conjunction between Venus and Pluto in Capricorn in your 5th house. Venus, for you, my dear Virgos, governs your 9th house and your 2nd house. Okay, so this could be a time when You maybe make some sort of impromptu plans to travel. Or when a romantic partner surprises you with an unexpected trip. This can also be a time when you maybe legalize something. You have to reach out to a court of law or to an institution. You might need to legalize something connected with children. Maybe you need to, I don't know, like hand in the papers to register your child for like nursery or for school in a new place. That's also very possible around this time. 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars moves into your 4th house of home. Mars rules your 8th house and your 3rd house. It looks like you're probably going to be maybe on the road quite a bit, possibly with family members throughout this period, or maybe to see family members. You also seem to put a lot of energy maybe into securing some sort of loan that you can use to renovate the house, to move into a new house. That's what I see you doing with this energy, Virgos. It's a great time to renovate the house. It is a great time to, I would also say, even buy things for the house and do the type of work that requires a lot of stamina, you know? 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon triggering your 10th house of career and public life and your 4th house of home in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter and Aquarius in your 6th house. Okay, I love this. I love this. You seem to be getting either a promotion, my dear Virgos, or maybe scoring some sort of a big client at work, and also feeling like your talents are being recognized. You are completing an important, I would say, maybe even 6 months long cycle at work. Look back at what was going career-wise in your life, what was going on a little bit earlier this year. Around the 10th of June 2021, give or take a week before, a week after, because that cycle seems to be coming to a completion and a culmination around the 18th, 19th of December. Whatever news it is, it seems to be very good, and it seems to be bringing some sort of new opportunity to you career-wise, my dear Virgos. Maybe also to achieve a better work-life balance. Now, 24th of December, we have a tense aspect in the sky, the 3rd square of the year between Saturn in your 6th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house. So look back at what you were dealing with, work-wise and health-wise, especially between the 16th and the 18th of February this year, and also between the 13th and the 14th of June this year. Because you're probably going to deal with it again, one last time, around the 24th of December. You need to bite the bullet somehow. That's what I see. You need to bite the bullet and do something that scares you work-wise, and also probably do something that scares you when it comes to your health. It's almost like you don't want to give up on something because you are attached to it from a belief system perspective, but your health would benefit dramatically if you did give up on a certain habit. And last but not least, on the 20th of December, 20th, 29th, depending on where you are in the world, my dear Virgos, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 7th house, pretty much for the most of 2022. It looks like next year, 2022, is a year of moving in together with a partner, or expanding your life, feeling like you're growing, feeling like you're evolving through a relationship. For those of you who are single, Jupiter is probably going to bring fantastic opportunities to enter into a committed relationship. For those of you that are already in a relationship, it may feel like your partner is growing, is evolving, and you might also be inclined to kind of like push them to get out of a rut and to maybe do something that feels risky but exciting at the same time. Maybe something that feels like an opportunity for growth for them. Now, Virgos, something else that I would love for you to keep in mind for December and January is the retrograde of Venus in your 5th house. Venus for you, Virgos, governs your 9th house of long distance travel and also your 2nd house of values. You might reevaluate what sort of like passions, hobbies, pleasures you spend your money on. You may also feel maybe called to pick back up some sort of old hobby. That is a possibility. There's also a possibility that you may travel, especially if you're single, to catch up with an old flame, with an old kind of like romantic partner. There is a possibility that you will be reconnecting with people from your past and actually enjoying some fun times, Virgos, between the 19th of December until the 29th of January. Careful, because things that seem too good to be true, especially romantically, might actually be too good to be true. And also something that you feel like you like when Venus is retrograde might not necessarily be what you realize you enjoy after Venus goes out of retrograde. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Now, if you are a Libra sun or a Libra rising, my dear Libras, this is going to be actually a very pleasant month for you. So let's start off from the very beginning. On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, you have a solar eclipse in your 3rd house of short distance travel, of movement, of siblings, of learning some sort of new practical skill, in a sextile to Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house. This can be a time when you decide to actually learn to study in a formal way, something that you are passionate about. You could also start some sort of writing project around this time. You might also start learning a new language, maybe something that makes you feel a little bit closer to a romantic partner, or maybe something that makes you feel a little bit closer to a topic that, again, you're passionate about. Some of you Libras might actually around this time buy a new car or change your mode of transportation. You could also sell something around this time. It can also be the beginning of a new cycle of networking for you and forming new connections, I'd say. Those of you who have siblings might hear some very, very positive news coming from siblings around this time. Now, on the 7th of December, Mercury and Sagittarius in your 3rd house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 6th house. This is a day of confusion, of maybe a little bit of disappointment when it comes to communication with a coworker, with a colleague. There can also be delays on the road. So if you're trying to get to work, you might not get to work in time. There could be incidents on the road. Maybe a work-related trip gets canceled. So it's a bit of a tricky day, this one. On the 11th of December, and also on the 25th of December, by the way, Venus in Capricorn in your 4th house is going to conjunct Pluto. Venus is obviously your ruler, but it also rules your 8th house. Some sort of secret seems to be coming to the surface in your kind of like private life. Maybe something connected with shared resources, with inheritance. There's also a possibility that you might have to reveal some sort of secret to a family member. Maybe something that you were going through in private and you did not want to worry them, but you feel like the universe is kind of like pushing you to get this off your chest. Maybe this crisis that you were dealing with on your own. You might also have to make some sort of, room for an unexpected expense connected with your family, connected maybe with a family member. On the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your third house. Okay, so this is when you're probably going to be feeling throughout this entire period like you need to be very persuasive and you need to maybe sell your ideas a lot to people. I do see this as a prolific time for sales in general. I also see this as a time when you're probably going to meet a lot of people. That's essentially what I'm seeing for this particular transit of Mars. You might also have to like move really fast between the 13th of December until the 25th of January to move very fast to maybe take care of a matter connected with a partner, maybe with a partner's car, or with your partner's maybe educational kind of initiatives. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon triggering your axis of learning, 3rd house, 9th house, in harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 5th house. Okay, this can be a time when you make plans to travel with a romantic partner, when you actually travel to see a romantic partner, when you travel maybe with friends, you could be traveling abroad, some sort of plan to, like I said, to travel, to explore, for fun, for pleasure, seems to be crystallizing around this time. You could also be hearing very, 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 very good news connected with your higher education. Maybe you are receiving the results of your exams at this time. Maybe you're passing your driver's license test, and you can feel like you can finally enjoy this festive month. This can also be a time, by the way, for those of you who are single, it can be a time when you have a very exciting romantic encounter, when you feel like you're on the same page with a romantic partner. Look back in your life, my dear Libras, at what was going on in the area of learning and traveling and movement and sales, maybe around the 10th of June this year, give or take a week before, a week after, because this full moon is completing the 6-month cycle that symbolically started off around the 10th of June. I have to say, if you have siblings, Libras, again, this is a time of great news from siblings. I see some really positive developments in the life of siblings. Some of them might even announce that they are maybe expecting a baby, or they might have something to announce regarding one of their passions and hobbies. I'm liking it. I'm very curious what it is you have to share. From the 19th of December until the 29th of January, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn in your 4th house. So this could be actually a time when you travel to places that maybe you feel like you are, I'm thinking, emotionally attached to, maybe places from your past, maybe places, cities that you lived in. You seem to be quite nostalgic for what has been throughout this period. You seem to be quite nostalgic for the past. You could also feel like maybe you're not exactly in the right place in terms of where you're living right now. My recommendation, if you are feeling like, I don't know if this is the place for me to live in, is to not make very kind of like sudden moves and sudden commitments to a new living environment altogether. So I wouldn't go looking for a flat straight away. That's because when Venus is retrograde, we're called to reevaluate what is important to us. And you may have some doubts about what matters to you in this area of life when it comes to your living situation, but you might see things a lot clearer from the 29th, 30th of January onwards. You might also have some conversations and some challenges to deal with when it comes to shared resources with family members between the 19th of December until the 29th of January. You could, for instance, have to deal with, I don't know, maybe the issue of an inheritance or something of that type. 24th of December is an intense day and a challenging day. I really can't pretend that it's not. It is a day when we are dealing with the third square of this year between Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house and Uranus and Taurus in your 8th house. It looks like you're torn between what you love and your partner's values, or something that is expected of you from others. And you may feel really kind of inclined to break away from an entanglement with a partner, maybe a business partner, that you feel like this is no longer working. If you're working in a creative environment with someone else, you might feel like they're stifling your creativity. You also dealt with this aspect between the 16th and the 18th of February this year, and also between the 13th and the 14th of June this year. So maybe you can look back and have a think about what you were experiencing in terms of creative collaborations. Also, you seem to be pushed to face some sort of uncomfortable truth about maybe intimacy in your life around this time. Also some sort of uncomfortable truth about your expectations from others, I would say, and how much you rely on others. This is not a time for gambling. This is not a time for investments. I really, really want to stress this out. It is not a time to test your luck. On the contrary, I would be as cautious as humanly possible around this time when it comes to gambling or investing in the stock market and so on. I would certainly advise against it personally, but I'm no financial advisor. And from the 28th of December, 28th, 29th, depending on where you live, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health for most of next year, essentially bringing to you new work-related opportunities, asking you to step out of your comfort zone and maybe learn some new practical skills, become more adept when it comes to some sort of hands-on skill that you put into the service of others. Next year can also be a year when you take on more responsibilities at work, but part of you is actually feeling quite excited because it looks like you're going to learn a lot. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my dear Scorpios, most of this month is going to revolve for you around the topic of money. How you make your money, how much you get paid, whether you are paid enough or not. So let us look into the most important dates of the month. 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 2nd house of income, sextiling Saturn and Aquarius in your 4th house of home. Okay, so this is a time when you seem to be kicking off some sort of new financial chapter in your life. Maybe you're getting a raise. Maybe you're getting a new job. Maybe you realize that you have more kind of more money to play with every month, and you decide to put that into building something long-lasting in your home, in your family life. You also seem to be starting off on the right foot financially, so that you can achieve for the long run a sense of security that allows you to improve your living situation. So you're putting your best foot forward. You could be, like I said, receiving a raise. You could be receiving a new work-related opportunity. What I see you being very excited about when it comes to this increase in salary is what you can do with it in your home and family life. This can also be a time when you discover some sort of new talent and monetizable talent at that. I really like this solar eclipse for you, my dear Scorpios. It can also feel like you're entering a new chapter altogether, where you are gaining a deeper sense of appreciation for your inner resources. 7th of December, it's a tricky day, not just for you, for everyone. Mercury in Sagittarius in your second house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the fifth house. You might be getting super excited about getting this raise or about getting this, I don't know, like new lucrative opportunity in your life, and you might have missed the fine print. So really kind of like check what's expected of you. Be careful not to overpromise and under-deliver, because that is a possibility. There can also be some sort of feeling of maybe disappointment around not being able to do something that you love on this day, maybe because of financial restrictions or because you have to focus on something, you have to put your attention someplace else in a different direction. On the 11th of December, Venus and Capricorn in your third house is going to conjunct Pluto. Now, Venus for you is the ruler of your seventh house. You may find out some sort of secret about your partner if you are in a relationship, or your partner might have a confession to make. This can also be a time, let's say you don't have a partner. Let's put it this way. This can also be a time when you get together with someone and you feel like you have this kind of like very strong intellectual connection with them. It's almost like you are in their heads. You can be very persuasive on this day if you want to get someone on your side. It looks like you know exactly what to say and also who to team up with, so that you can persuade this person in front of you, so that you can get out of them what it is that you need. 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your second house. Mars for you, my dear Scorpios, rules you, and it also rules your sixth house. It looks like you are going to work like no one's business for your money. You're going to be very busy, essentially, work-wise, the way I see it, until at least the 25th of January. And you're probably going to try to prove your talents and skills in a work environment. You're probably going to try to prove that they were right, the team, they were right to trust you with this work related opportunity. It also looks like you are probably going to take the lead in a work environment. Maybe you're going to be leading some sort of project and you're feeling confident, you're feeling positive about it, and you also move very fast and you're kind of like very excited to get things done here. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini, triggering your financial axis in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter and Aquarius in the fourth house. Okay, first of all, look back at what was going on in your life, my dear Scorpios, around the 10th of June, give or take a week before, a week after, because this was the time when you experienced the new moon, the beginning of the cycle that ends around the 18th, 19th of December. This can be a time when you collect a lump sum of money, when you receive some sort of return on investment, when you cash in, and also when you take the money and you put it towards the home, when you put it towards some sort of long-term project that you have initiated at home. You could also be spending a lot of money around this time on family members, but you're feeling very generous and you're feeling very excited to share the bounty of this year with family members. This can also be a time when you get approved, for instance, for a mortgage to move into your house. It can also be a time when you receive some sort of gift, maybe from family members, and it's very generous. And it also shows how much they appreciate you and what you've done for them. But obviously not necessarily expecting anything in return, what you've done for them, especially in a time of crisis. So it's like they want to show that they are grateful to you around this time. It can also be a time of really good news financially for a partner if you are in a relationship around this time. Now, from the 19th of December until the 29th of January, Venus goes retrograde in Capricorn in your 3rd house. It looks like you're going to probably have to revisit something that you learned in the past, maybe review old materials, maybe you got your certification in something and you need to revisit the course material because the information is no longer fresh in your head. It may also feel like you maybe have to reconvince. So get back in touch with maybe people who you thought you had kind of like reached some sort of agreement professionally, but now they're saying, oh no, I still have questions about this, I still have questions about that, and so on. It is a fantastic time to get back in touch with old clients and strike a deal with old clients. They might actually reach out to you. It can also be a time when maybe someone from your past, especially a romantic partner, gets back in touch. If you are in a relationship already, you may feel like communication maybe is a little bit strained, and you might also feel like it is time to finally talk about something that you wanted to talk about a while back, but it was never a good time. So this is it. Now you can kind of like pick things back up where you left off. 24th of December, we have the 3rd and final square of the year between Saturn and Aquarius in your 4th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 7th house. You've already encountered this square, Scorpios, between the 16th and the 18th of February and between the 13th and the 14th of June. Have a think about how you felt blocked maybe by a family member in your relationship, or how you felt, let's say, maybe reluctant to pursue some sort of initiative that the partner pointed out to you because it felt weird, it felt strange, and you probably felt a little bit more comfortable in keeping things as they were. There could also be kind of like an issue from the past coming back to your attention in your relationship, and maybe you thought that this was dealt with, but the partner seems to be very adamant, probably, to treat it differently and to free themselves of the burden that this issue is for them. Your partner might also have some sort of surprising news to share with you, connected with their family, connected maybe with a family member. You also seem to have a little bit of a disagreement with the partner in your life about maybe where to live or what to do when it comes to a very important topic for you, linked with the family, linked with your property-related plans, residence-related plans, or family-related plans. There can also be a clash between a partner and a family member around this time, my dear Scorpios. From a business perspective, because some people are going to say I'm single, from a business perspective, this can bring the end of a business partnership. Like a partner might really want to get out of an existing partnership. And from the 28th, 29th of December, depending on where you live in the world, Jupiter moves into Pisces in your 5th house of love, romance, creativity, and fun. Jupiter rules your 2nd house and your 5th house. It looks like next year, my dear Scorpios, is going to be a very fun year. It's a year of increased inspiration. It is also a year that will bring fantastic romantic opportunities, and a year in which you're likely to spend more of your hard-earned cash on matters and topics that you enjoy and that you are personally passionate about. And for some Scorpios out there, Scorpio risings in particular, 2022 can also bring pregnancy, a baby, into their lives. My dear Sagittarians, Sagittarius suns, and Sagittarius risings, what does December look like for you? Well, you're obviously center stage for most of this month. You are going to have an eclipse in your sign. It's a very exciting month. It is probably going to feel like a month of rebirth for you overall. So let's dig into it. On the 4th of December, give or take a week before, a week after, you have the very last eclipse in your sign for more than 9 years. So you're going to have eclipses contacting your sign 9 years from now. It's a solar eclipse, so a new beginning in your first house of identity, and it is forming a harmonious aspect with Saturn in Aquarius in your third house. Folks, you are literally being reborn. You've changed a lot, you've evolved a lot in the past year and a half since the nodal axis moved into the Sagittarius Gemini pair of signs. It may feel like you have released a great part of who you were up until this point in your life in the last year and a half, and now you're feeling ready to start anew, to begin something in your life that is aligned with your new identity, with your new sense of self. You are feeling reinvigorated. It may literally feel like you've built yourself into a new person, and there is a very, very high chance that you are embarking on some sort of new journey in your life. You are embarking upon a journey of further self-development now that you know what you no longer are, if that makes sense. It looks like you have released a lot in the past year and a half. So now it's like, okay, how can I continue to develop myself further? You might mark this eclipse through some sort of big piece of news that you want to share with the outside world. You may actually embark upon some sort of process of learning. You may take up some sort of new course. I'm liking the sextile from the eclipse to Saturn in Aquarius in your third house. It looks like you have matured. You are a much more wise version of yourself, Sagittarians, moving forward. I'm liking it. You're probably proud of yourself as well. It may feel like you're finding yourself once again. Now, moving a little bit further in time, on the 7th of December, we have a square between Mercury and Sagittarius in your first house and Neptune and Pisces in your fourth house. So you're feeling all excited about where you're headed, where you're going, the new you. You're ready to share the new you with the outside world. And alas, there's someone in your family, maybe a parent, maybe a family member, that just doesn't get it. And you're feeling a little bit disappointed. They might even say something that feels quite painful to digest for you, but that's okay. Not everyone is here to understand your path of evolution, and sometimes we just gotta make peace with that. On the 11th of December, we have the first of two conjunctions between Venus and Pluto in your second house. Now, for you, my dear Sagittarians, let's look at what Venus governs. Venus rules your 6th house and your 11th house. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is maybe an opportunity of collaboration with a friend for some sort of work-related project. There can be this opportunity making its way to you. I like this day. I like the 11th of December, also because Mercury and Sagittarius in your first house is sextiling Jupiter in Aquarius in your third house of communication and sales. Maybe you are selling something, maybe you are scoring a deal, maybe you are persuading someone to work with you moving forward. In any case, it seems to result in more money on your end. Now, on the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars is going to move through Sagittarius in your first house, and Mars rules your 5th house and your 12th house. You are on fire. And I realize I'm saying that to the fire sign because obviously you're a fire sign. You're super active, you're pumped, you are ready to get things going. You are probably going to feel even more energetic until the 25th of January. More energetic than you have felt in a very, very long time. You may be a little bit impatient with others. It is a fantastic period, a fantastic time when Mars is in your sign to work out vigorously, to move your body vigorously. You might be prone to making some sort of impulsive moves, impulsive decisions, and let's say quick decisions, especially when it comes to hobbies and when it comes to what you do for fun. Careful not to hurt yourself when you are working out or when you are having too much fun. And when I say hurt yourself, careful not to cut yourself, not to get any sort of like bruises and stuff like that, because that is all Mars territory, Sagittarians. Now, on the 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini in your 7th house, in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 3rd house of communication. Okay, so whatever you've been working on together with a partner since, let's see exactly since when. Since the 10th of June this year, give or take a week before, a week after. Whatever you've been working on together with a partner, it's coming to a completion. It is culminating, lovely Sagittarians. It looks like you are maybe launching a marketing project, launching some sort of campaign. You could have some good news coming your way from your partner, maybe something connected with sales, something connected with marketing, something connected with documentation and contracts. Also, you could feel at this point in time like you have reached a much smoother kind of like state of communication between you and a partner in your life. Now, I realize some of you might not be working in a partnership with anyone. I realize some of you might be single. If you don't want to be single any longer, then this can be a time, certainly, when you have the possibility to meet someone, to connect with someone, either in an educational environment or in the local community. You could also connect with someone through a sibling. That's a very strong possibility. Intellectually, you really resonate with this person, Sagittarians. So I do want you to be aware of that. Now, from the 19th of December until the 29th of January, Venus is retrograde in Capricorn in your 2nd house. You might need to make some outstanding payments throughout this period. You might receive money that was due to you for quite some time, and it's finally landing in your bank account. There's also a possibility that you might reevaluate some of the tasks that you've been engaging in at work on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you're thinking, okay, I don't want to do this any longer. I need to delegate these tasks, or I need to bring someone on board, someone who I used to work with, because they can free up some time for me. They can free up my plate a little bit. There can also be people from the past who you've worked with reaching out to you and saying, don't you want to make a quick buck together? One thing that I strongly recommend in general, when Venus is retrograde, and especially since it's in your 2nd house of income, I would recommend paying attention to the terms of the agreement that you're signing up for, because if something looks too good to be true, it could be. a little bit too good to be true. It could also be something that you get super excited about, and then at the end of the retrograde, you realize, oh my God, I don't really want to work here any longer, or I don't really want to work with this person anymore because it's no longer a source of growth and evolution. So careful not to commit to working in this way and making money in this way that might come to you throughout the Venus retrograde, because at the end of the retrograde, you're probably going to change your mind, or you could change your mind. The sun moves into Capricorn in your second house of income from the 21st of December onwards for the next 4 weeks. So money is going to be on your mind quite a lot. How to make it, how to save it, how to, build up your savings, and so on. On the 24th of December, we have a square between Saturn and Uranus. Saturn in your third house and Uranus and Taurus in your sixth house. This square has also been active this year between the 16th and the 18th of February, and between the 13th and the 14th of June. It's the last of these squares. You're probably giving up on some sort of collaboration at work, or you're saying, you know what, I can't work with these people any longer, and you're just going to have to say it and bite the bullet and deal with the consequences, because someone in your work environment is really disrupting your flow. So you might be like, you know what, this is it. I'm done with this. This is not productive for me. Like I said, it's not necessarily an easy thing to communicate, maybe to a boss. It's not an easy thing to communicate to the colleague themselves. But in the long run, you will probably thank yourself for doing it. Now, if you are a Capricorn sun or a Capricorn rising, my lovely Capricorns, December for you, most of it is going to be about rest. And I know you're going to be like, oh my God, shocking. I never take time off. Well, let me tell you, this month you're probably going to take time off. And if you don't want to do it willingly, you might feel like you have no other choice. Why? Because you're going to feel a little bit depleted of energy, especially in the first few weeks of December. So you have an eclipse happening on the 4th of December, a solar eclipse, so a new beginning in your 12th house, sextiling Saturn in Aquarius in your second house. It looks like you're entering some sort of new chapter in your life where you decide to allocate maybe more time, where you decide to value more the time that you spend doing nothing. So time that you spend resting, recuperating. You may realize how important it is actually for your productivity to take breaks, to consciously carve out time for rest. You could be feeling like you're having this epiphany about how you've been neglecting this part of your life. So resting, looking inwards, introspection, and you might even commit to, as I said, becoming more dedicated to giving your body and giving your mind the time off that it needs from time to time, especially from a mental health perspective. You seem to be overcoming some sort of blockage from a mental health perspective, and it can come to you whilst you're sleeping, dreaming, resting, meditating, and so on. For some Capricorn risings in particular, this eclipse on the 4th of December, week before, week after, may also bring some sort of spiritual revelation where you feel like you have unlocked a certain part of yourself, like hidden potential. And you may also feel, I dare say it, awakened in a sense from a spiritual standpoint. You're discovering a part in yourself, my dear Capricorns, that you are not aware of, almost like a blind spot. Now, on the 7th of December, Mercury in Sagittarius in your 12th house is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 3rd house. So this is a day, I'll tell you, this is a day of frustration when it comes to transportation. It is also a day when you might feel like whatever you say and whatever you kind of like try to communicate to others, it's just not really being interpreted the right way. It is also a day, I gotta tell you, if you're on the road, when you could have a little bit of car trouble. Something might be leaking. Just to put it out there. I'm no car specialist here. On the 11th of December, we have Venus and Capricorn in your first house conjunct Pluto. I love this. So this aspect is going to be exact also on the 25th of December. So on the 11th and on the 25th, it looks like you are uncovering something buried inside of you, Pluto, that you really value, that you really appreciate. Maybe you are uncovering something that you realize, oh my gosh, I'm really passionate about this, or oh my gosh, I'm really good at this. You might even uncover a part of yourself that makes you feel really proud of who you are and makes you appreciate yourself more. You may also uncover some sort of blind spot around these two dates. Some blind spot connected with self-love and self-appreciation and self-worth and self-esteem. You are going through a very important process of transforming your relationship with yourself, my dear Capricorns, especially since you're going to have Venus in your first house until the first week of March next year. And Venus is also going to be retrograde in your sign from the 19th of December until the 29th of January, especially throughout this period, 19th of December until the 29th of January next year. It is possible that you might turn back to some of your old hobbies, some of your old passions. You might turn back to what used to bring you joy previously in your life. You might decide to pamper yourself more, to treat your body better, to appreciate your body more, and to value yourself more, even at a symbolic level. You might also decide, by the way, because Venus also rules your 10th house, you could decide that you want to go back to working with someone that you worked with before, or you want to go back to doing something that you were doing before career-wise, and you really enjoyed it, but somehow you lost track of it, or you lost touch with it. My big recommendation, though, is don't make any sort of like dramatic commitments in a different direction work-wise when Venus is retrograde, because you might be a little bit nostalgic and see the past with the rosy colored glasses when it was actually not that rosy. There's also a possibility that you can collaborate throughout this period or get back in touch between the 19th of December and the 29th of January. Get back in touch with old bosses, old collaborators, old clients, and there can be business from the past making its way back to you. The important thing is to treat yourself really well, Capricorns, and to realize that it may have been a long time since you last had that sort of like talk with yourself of, okay, what do I really enjoy doing? What is important to me? What are really my values? Now, on the 13th of December, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your 12th house until the 25th of January. This can be a time, I'm warning you, when you might be losing sleep a little bit. Mars in the 12th house doesn't really like to sleep, so you could be suffering a little bit from insomnia. You could also set some goals, set some objectives, because Mars governs your 11th house, and set the ball in motion. Some objectives connected with rest, with vacation, with time off. I'm thinking you could be making some plans about maybe vacations in the year ahead, or you could be planning your time for the future, as I said, in such a way that you save time for what fills you up, and also for what resets you energetically. Let's see. On the 18th, 19th of December, we have a full moon in Gemini in your 6th house. It's triggering your axis of service in harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 2nd house of income. Okay, so you're completing something work-wise at this point in time, my dear Capricorns. You are proud of what you are completing, I can tell you. It can be something that you started working on around the 10th of June, give or take a week before, a week after. You're being appreciated, you're being applauded for it, you're being paid for it. I like that sextile to Jupiter in the 2nd house. This is the time to ask for a raise from your boss. If you're working for yourself, this is the time to put your prices up, your day rate, put it up, because I see a success work-wise. Now, I can also tell you that some of you might quit around this time from their current job because it looks like you've probably received some sort of better offer, better paying offer. This can also be a time, my dear Capricorns. Let's see. If you don't have a job, when you can receive a job offer, and if you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to change my job, you could also expand the team. There could be budget for you to expand the team. I'm liking it. It's a win. Like I said, work-wise for you, it's 100% a win. Now, from the 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn in your first house of identity. The spotlight moves to you. You know how I said that you're probably going to feel a little bit depleted of energy in the first 3 weeks of December? Well, not anymore. It's showtime again. You've recovered your stamina, you've recovered your life force, you've recovered your vitality for the next 4 weeks, and it may feel like everyone's watching you and looking towards you and saying, okay, what now? Tell us, where are you headed? It may feel like you're a little bit in the spotlight. You may also feel ready to share with the outside world in the next 4 weeks some sort of maybe crisis that you've been going through on a personal level that you've overcome. On the 24th of December, we have the last square of the year between Saturn in Aquarius in your second house and Uranus in Taurus in your fifth house. We had this square exact also between the 16th and the 18th of February and between the 13th and the 14th of June. Earlier this year. Have a think about what sort of blockage you dealt with at a financial level and also at a romantic level earlier this year, especially in February and in June. You may have a very powerful realization that some of your values, maybe some of the values that were instilled in you as you're growing up, are preventing you from enjoying life. And they're kind of like putting a damper on your fun, on your enjoyment. So it's a good idea, actually, also with Venus in retrograde in your first house, to have a think about what you really value, what you really appreciate, and to have a think about how many of these values you actually personally resonate with. It doesn't matter whether society tells you you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be appreciating this, you should be valuing that. If that's not something that resonates with you to the very core, then it will feel like jail. It will feel like a trap. It will feel like prison. So don't create jails for yourself, my dear Capricorn. You might also have some sort of additional expense to deal with around the 24th, 25th of December, especially if you have children coming from one of your children. It is probably something that you might be aware of slightly. You've dealt with it pretty much throughout the whole of this year. For those of you who have children, you might also be dealing with this kind of like big question of what sort of values do I want to pass on to my children? And are some of my values maybe outdated? That's a question for you. I don't know. My Aquarius brothers and sisters, Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. Can I just say one thing and one thing only? You are probably going to really enjoy the first 3 weeks of December. There are some tricky things happening in the sky in the last week of December, especially the square between Saturn in your first house and Uranus in Taurus in your fourth house. But when you have the Sagittarius energy on your side in the first 3 weeks of December, you're going to have a blast. I'll tell you this. Let's start with the very beginning. Let's start with the eclipse. We have a solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 11th house on the 4th of December, week before, week after, sextiling Saturn and Aquarius in the first house. I love this. I love this, Aquarius. You are setting a new goal for yourself. You're setting a new objective for yourself. You're feeling confident. You're feeling mature. You're feeling ready to tackle this long-term goal and plan. It may feel like you have a lot of clarity for the future as to where you are headed. It may feel like you're embarking upon a very important journey in terms of your long-term goals and plans for the future around this time. And it may even feel like you've taken the first step in this direction. Some of you might join a new community. Some of you might decide to start off their own community. Some of you may announce something big to the outside world about where you're headed in life next. It looks like you are feeling like you've found your tribe around this time. You may be welcome within a new tribe, and it looks like you're feeling like home amongst these people. It is a time of celebration. It is a time to get together with friends. It looks like you're feeling very positive and very confident and very optimistic about the future, Aquarius. And it's not just because you're naturally quite positive. It's also because you know that you can rely on yourself. I know, very Aquarius, right? It still goes back to the independence part. On the 7th of December, we have a square between Mercury and Sagittarius in your 11th house and Neptune in Pisces in your 2nd house. There could be some sort of confusion, miscommunication, that you deal with a friend, maybe. Now, I say you deal with it, but I don't necessarily see you dealing with it very well because something seems to be lost in translation. Maybe you thought you agreed something with a friend and it doesn't actually happen the way that you wanted it to happen. It feels like things are a little bit up in the air. You might also be prone on this day to spend a little bit more money because of peer pressure. Careful not to, what is that saying? By the way, I love it when I ask you folks and you actually respond. I love it when you're telling me what the saying is. Burn a hole in your pocket. Careful, because on this day, you might literally burn a hole in your pocket. And careful with scammers on this day as well. 11th of December and also on the 25th of December, we have an exact conjunction between Venus and Pluto in your 12th house. Okay, I'm liking this. Why? I mean, this to me looks like a very intense romantic encounter behind the scenes where it feels like you're doing something a little bit taboo, something that feels forbidden in some shape or form. You're breaking some sort of like barrier. You're embracing some sort of taboo topic, maybe, possibly, in your romantic life. You might also receive an unexpected gift from a family member. It could be maybe tickets to go away, maybe tickets to go to the spa, maybe something that takes you away from your day-to-day mundane reality, my dear Aquarius. Now, on the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars enters Sagittarius in your 11th house, and Mars, for you, governs your 3rd house and your 10th house. I can tell you, Aquarius, that with Mars, the ruler of your 3rd house, in your 11th house until the 25th of January, you're probably going to have an absolutely packed social agenda. You're catching up with a lot of friends. You're maybe arranging all sorts of things for friends. Maybe you're organizing some sort of event together with friends. It looks like there's a lot of emails to send, of messages to send, of errands to run. You seem to be also taking the lead in some sort of group project throughout this period. Now, on the 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Gemini, triggering your 5th house, 11th house axis in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 1st house. First of all, look back at what you were doing in your life around the 10th of June this year, give or take a week before, a week after, because that's culminating around this time, around the full moon in Gemini. If you were working on something creative, then you could be completing the creative project around this time. If you just started dating someone at that point in time in June, then it may feel like this person is your person around this time. You may feel quite sure of the fact that you want to continue to be with them. If you started let's say engaging with some sort of like new passion, new hobby around the 10th of June. If you discovered some sort of new hobby around the 10th of June, then it may feel around the 18th, 19th of December like this is it. This is something that you really enjoy doing and you're integrating it within your identity. It feels like you've learned a lot in the past 6 months and you're becoming very aware of it. You've learned a lot about what brings you joy, about what fills up your cup. And you've learned a lot also about what stimulates your mind in a way that is very enjoyable for you. I can also tell you that this full moon brings a lot of fun with friends to your to your doorstep. You're feeling very positive about this, about the experiences that you've had in the past 6 months, especially experiences connected with your passions, your hobbies, but also experiences connected with how you have evolved over time this year. Because let's face it, you haven't had it very easy with Saturn in your sign, but now you're feeling like, yes, I can see why I lived everything that I lived, and I'm feeling like an evolved individual, because you have certainly evolved. Now, I know this is not going to apply to everyone, obviously, but some Aquarians may hear news of pregnancy around this time, or they may hear some very positive news if they have children already about their kids, especially something connected with education. 19th of December, Aquarians, until the 29th of January, Venus is retrograde in Capricorn in your 12th house, and Venus for you rules your 4th house and your 9th house. Okay, so you seem to be resting throughout this period at home, because Venus rules your 4th house of home, and you might even travel together with family members, maybe someplace where you can rest. You may also feel like it's time to make peace with a family member throughout this period. You might also feel inclined to kind of like go through, let's say, old kind of like albums and objects that remind you of your past, of your childhood, and you could be feeling a little bit nostalgic. Now, some Aquarians who might be feeling, I don't know, a little bit on the naughty side. Santa knows when you're naughty. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Ignore it. There is a possibility that some Aquarians might be pulled into some sort of like hidden fling with an old romantic partner. Now, I've got nothing against a good fling, but keep in mind that after the retrograde is over, you might not necessarily like this person any longer. It may feel like you've gotten the closure that you needed to get, but there may not necessarily be a future for you together as a couple. What else is going on? Okay, so on the 24th of December, also the day after, I'd say, Saturn and Aquarius in your 1st house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 4th house of home and family. There is some sort of feeling of maybe blockage or a feeling of disconnect or of something breaking apart between you and a family member, possibly. It may feel like you're coming from completely different worlds. You have dealt with this square also earlier this year, between the 16th and the 18th of February, and between the 13th and the 14th of June. It's almost like the square is happening one more time to give you the opportunity to take a stance and to say, okay, I'm breaking free from my past in this direction. This is not something that I want to build in my life moving forward, and I need to be comfortable with the fact that maybe not all family members will be on my side with this. There could also be something that is kind of like breaking apart in the home, like Well, certainly I'm thinking of technology, of course, because we have Uranus involved. Something might actually need to be replaced in terms of technological devices around this time. Maybe it gets fried up, I'm thinking. I don't know. You folks let me know if you're dealing with any of this. And of course, Jupiter moves into Pisces on the 28th, 29th of December. For most of 2022, I'm liking this. Why? Well, because you've grown, you've evolved as an individual, Aquarius, in 2021. You've discovered new parts to yourself. But in 2022, it looks like Jupiter is going to give you the opportunities that you need to put these new kind of like newfound resources, new talents, new skills, to put them to work and to monetize them. I'm also seeing opportunities to make generally more money, to be better off financially in 2022 for you, Aquarius. And that is December. Now, if you are a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, okay, so this month for you is revolving a great deal around your career. Yes, you got that right. Some people are thinking of the holidays. You're thinking about your next professional move. It's a very eventful month, Pisces. Why? Because, of course, you have an eclipse in a sign that is squaring you in Sagittarius, and the square is an aspect of action. At the end of the month, of course, Jupiter, the Great Benefic, is moving into your sign, so you are about to enter a year filled with luck and with opportunities, and a year of expansion on a personal level in, of course, 2022. Let me not get ahead of myself, and let's go through the most important dates of next month. So 4th of December, week before, week after, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 10th house of career, sextiling Saturn in Aquarius in the 12th house. I gotta tell you, you're either starting a new job now, or you are receiving a new job offer, or you are receiving a promotion, Pisces, or you're starting your own business. It's something that you've been working on behind the scenes. I'm looking at that Saturn in Aquarius in the 12th house. It feels like a whole new world is opening up for you career-wise. Some of you might have taken the decision around this time, or you might take the decision around this time to pursue a new career path altogether, to kind of like change industries, to change your work environment altogether. It's not going to be that dramatic for everyone, but it is very, very possible, because eclipses generally mark major milestone moments in our life. What I can tell you is that if you are feeling pumped and excited to start off on a new journey career-wise, do it. Because next year you have Jupiter in your corner saying, take a leap of faith, take a leap of faith. I've got your back. You can do this. How have you been keeping yourself small? Where are you stagnant in your life? It's time to grow. It's time to expand. And Jupiter actually rules your 10th house of career. So there is this connection here. 7th of December, we have Mercury in Sagittarius in your 10th house, squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 1st house. You could be feeling a little bit heartbroken, maybe a little bit sad, maybe to leave behind an old job, or you could be feeling sad when you're making this sort of announcement to your current team. You might also be feeling like maybe, just maybe, one of your parents doesn't really understand, doesn't really get this move that you are making. You could also be feeling a bit confused as to whether you've made the right choice. I'm generally not that adamant about anything, but I can tell you that you probably have made the right choice to step in a new direction, my dear Pisces. Now, on the 11th of December and on the 25th, we have Venus conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 11th house. Okay, so this is when you're forming some sort of like important and very powerful alliance. If you ask me, my dear Pisces, it may feel like you've got someone who has a lot of power on your side, and maybe someone who has been supporting you from behind the scenes is taking a very public stance and saying, I'm on your side, I'm with you. These can also be times, these 2 days in particular can be times when you hear some very jarring news from a friend, maybe connected with their intimate life, or connected with some sort of big financial decision that they have taken. It looks like you can access some sort of important a resource if you need to access it, maybe a financial resource through friends at these times in your life. Don't be afraid to ask if you're starting, for instance, your new business. Don't be afraid to ask for support from friends. Don't be afraid to maybe even ask someone who you know might be interested. Don't be afraid to ask them, are you willing to jump on board? Are you willing to follow me on this new and exciting journey? Now, on the 13th of December until the 25th of January, Mars moves into Sagittarius in your 10th house of career. Well, you don't need me to tell you, but throughout this entire period, it looks like you are going to be working overtime to prove yourself and to prove your talents in a new work environment. You are incredibly busy, you're incredibly motivated, you want things to move fast, you're starting off some sort of like new big project, you're putting all your energy in this new career direction, and it may feel like everyone else is moving quite slow, so very careful not to be impatient, especially with the people that work for you. Just to put it out there. 18th, 19th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Gemini in your 4th house, triggering your 4th house, 10th house axis in a harmonious aspect to Jupiter in Aquarius in your 12th house. First of all, look back at what was going on in your life around the 10th of June, because this full moon is completing a cycle that started around the 10th of June, week before, week after. Maybe you're making the announcement about your next career move to the family. You could also have something maybe to announce to the outside world, something that you've been keeping hidden about your private life. I don't know, maybe the fact that you're moving someplace else, maybe the fact that you are buying a property, maybe the fact that you're planning to have a child. In my experience, I've also noticed that changes in status in someone's life, for instance, getting married, they are also reflected at lunations triggering the 10th house. And certainly this lunation is triggering your 10th house of public life and public status. Whatever news it is, it seems to be very good, but it's something that you've been keeping under wraps, Pisces. 19th of December, Venus retrograde kicks off until the 29th of January in Capricorn in your 11th house. This is a time to maybe reach out to old friends that you've lost touch with, reach back to old collaborators, maybe strengthen kind of like old alliances. You may hear back from old friends and actually get together with them and be quite socially active throughout this entire time. It feels good in a way to be doing all of this. It feels good to catch up with old friends. It gives you a sense of comfort. It also makes you feel quite in a good position, in control of your life. I don't know if that makes sense. It's almost like, it feels like you're proud to be doing what you're doing, and catching up with people from your past is almost showing you how far you have come up until this point in your life. You might also pick up an old goal that you push to the side temporarily throughout this period when Venus is retrograde. And of course, the sun moves into Capricorn in your 11th house of friends and collaborators on the 21st of December for the next 4 weeks. The spotlight is on social activities. The spotlight is also placed on setting goals and objectives for the year ahead. And on on the 24th of December, we have a tense aspect. The last square between Saturn and Aquarius in your 12th house and Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house. This can be a time when you cut someone out of your life, or when maybe an old friend decides to exit your life for good, because you're no longer aligned in terms of values. It may feel, as painful as it is, it may feel like it's the right way forward. I'm not saying that it's not painful. Let me just put it out there. You might also feel like you have some sort of like irreconcilable difference that pops up between you and an old peer group, maybe, and you're thinking, okay, this is not my crowd anymore. It used to be my crowd, but it's not my crowd anymore. If you have siblings, then a sibling might be struggling around this time from a mental health perspective. I can also tell you that this is a time when your car could break down, and as painful as it is, you might need to get a new one. And last but not least, of course, 28th, 29th of December, for most of 2022, Jupiter moves into your 1st house of identity. Next year, as I said, is a year of discovering a new side to yourself, of growing, of evolving, of meeting new people, of broadening your horizons, of taking new chances in your life, of embarking upon a new learning journey. But this learning journey is not necessarily something of a practical nature. It's more of a philosophical, big picture, worldview nature. So you could get interested in, let's say, a new spiritual tradition next year. You could get interested in some sort of new way of looking at the world, a new philosophy. I'm excited for you next year, Pisces. Folks, this is your December horoscope. It's been a pleasure to do it as usual. Let me know how the month unfolds for you. Don't forget, if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. There are various types of services that you can go for. You will find them all in the services section, including live Zoom consultations, but also audio recorded readings. Happy New Year. Dare I say it? Dare I say it? And I will see you on the other side. Thank you. Bye.